This just crossed a red line. Federal agents exposed a cartel takeover hidden inside America's rail system.
Federal agencies seized massive quantities of fentanyl, meth, and military weapons moving through U.S. rail lines in the largest internal transportation security breach ever uncovered. Operation Blackstorm led to 127 arrests, 43 rail cars seized, and exposed a cartel-run distribution network embedded inside a major railroad system. At 6:12 a.m. in California, federal agents stood over sealed evidence bags filled with fentanyl. The quantity was staggering, enough to poison entire cities many times over. Nearby military-grade rifles were laid out on the pavement, still wrapped to prevent corrosion. Just a few feet away sat refrigerated containers normally reserved for medical transport, the kind used for human organs. This was not a border seizure. It was not a neighborhood drug bust. This evidence came from inside America's rail system, breached from within. The DEA would later confirm this was the largest single fentanyl seizure in California's history. Officials said thousands of lives were likely saved. But behind the relief was a deeper alarm. Investigators warned that the seizure revealed something far more dangerous than a successful drug bust. Mexican cartels were no longer simply smuggling narcotics into the United States. They had embedded themselves inside the nation's most trusted transportation infrastructure. As the investigation expanded, it exposed a hidden criminal enterprise operating quietly inside America's rail network. The operation was sophisticated, deeply layered, and designed to evade detection at every level. For nearly 2 years, drugs, weapons, and even human organs had moved freely across the country without triggering suspicion. The rails that carried food, fuel, and medical supplies had also been carrying poison. The case began just after 11 p.m. when a freight train traveling along a central U.S. rail line slowed unexpectedly. A routine weight sensor embedded beneath the tracks triggered a silent alert. Rail inspectors were dispatched, expecting nothing more than a mechanical imbalance or paperwork error. Situations like this happened every night across the country. What they found stopped them cold. One rail car was nearly 900 pounds heavier than its shipping manifest indicated. That kind of discrepancy did not happen by chance. Inspectors opened a service panel along the side of the car. Behind it was a freshly welded steel wall, smooth, precise, and deliberately concealed. When agents breached the hidden compartment, the scale of the crime became instantly clear. Inside were industrial-sized bags of fentanyl powder, sealed and stacked with military precision. Beside them were rifles designed for combat, not civilian use, wrapped in grease to prevent rust during long transit. At the rear of the compartment sat refrigerated containers, temperature-controlled and reinforced, identical to those used to transport human organs for transplant. This was not the work of a low-level dealer or a corrupt crew looking for extra money. This was a moving crime scene hidden inside a commercial train that millions of Americans trusted every single day. As federal agencies took control of the train, one question dominated the investigation. Who was controlling the system that allowed this to happen? Paperwork traced the rail car to America's second-largest railroad company, a massive carrier that controlled more than 31,000 miles of track and moved nearly 1/3 of all freight in the United States. The scale alone made the discovery terrifying. If this system had been compromised, the impact reached every corner of the country. Investigators soon learned that 2 years earlier, the railroad company had been quietly acquired by an investment group called Pacific Rail Holdings. At the time, the deal was praised by financial media. Investors applauded. Regulators saw nothing unusual. Daily operations continued without interruption. Trains ran on time. No alarms were raised. But federal financial analysts uncovered a very different reality. Pacific Rail Holdings did not truly exist. It was a shell company built on top of shell companies, registered across Panama, Belize, Hong Kong, and Dubai. Each layer was designed to obscure ownership, hide financial flows, and delay scrutiny. When investigators followed the money far enough, every trail converged on the same conclusion: the Sinaloa cartel and CJNG. For the first time on this scale, rival Mexican cartels were cooperating inside the United States, not just to move drugs, but to control infrastructure. After the acquisition, the railroad began changing from the inside out. Cartel operatives were quietly placed into key operational roles. Maintenance supervisors gained control of repair yards. Logistics managers decided routing priorities. Night shift foremen approved cargo loads that never appeared on official manifests. Each position was chosen for access, not visibility. In use, wrapped in grease to prevent rust during long transit. At the rear of the compartment sat refrigerated containers, temperature-controlled and reinforced, identical to those used to transport human organs for transplant. This was not the work of a low-level dealer or a corrupt crew looking for extra money. This was a moving crime scene hidden inside a commercial train that millions of Americans trusted every single day. As federal agencies took control of the train, one question dominated the investigation. Who was controlling the system that allowed this to happen? Paperwork traced the rail car to America's second-largest railroad company, a massive carrier that controlled more than 31,000 miles of track and moved nearly one-third of all freight in the United States. The scale alone made the discovery terrifying. If this system had been compromised, the impact reached every corner of the country. Investigators soon learned that 2 years earlier, the railroad company had been quietly acquired by an investment group called Pacific Rail Holdings. At the time, the deal was praised by financial media. Investors applauded. Regulators saw nothing unusual. Daily operations continued without interruption. Trains ran on time. No alarms were raised. But federal financial analysts uncovered a very different reality. Pacific Rail Holdings did not truly exist. It was a shell company built on top of shell companies, registered across Panama, Belize, Hong Kong, and Dubai. Each layer was designed to obscure ownership, hide financial flows, and delay scrutiny. When investigators followed the money far enough, every trail converged on the same conclusion: the Sinaloa cartel and CJNG. Engineers redesigned refrigerated rail cars with hidden steel compartments that could not be detected during routine inspections. Independent cooling systems were installed to keep contraband at precise temperatures. 1 week, the cars carried narcotics, the next human organs. From the outside, they looked like ordinary freight. The rail system had been transformed into a criminal corridor. Drugs flowed west to east, feeding distribution networks deep inside American cities. Weapons moved north to south, arming cartel enforcement units. Refrigerated containers labeled as medical equipment carried untraceable human organs, hidden in plain sight. For nearly 2 years, this poison crossed the nation silently. By early dawn, federal agencies had seen enough. At 4:18 a.m., during the quietest window for freight movement, the United States launched the largest coordinated transportation raid in modern history. The operation unfolded across 12 states at once. Teams from the FBI, DEA, Department of Homeland Security, and state police moved into position under cover of darkness. Surveillance drones hovered over rail yards. Armored vehicles staged beside switching stations and maintenance depots. Agents wearing night vision goggles waited for a single synchronized command. At 4:18 and 30 seconds, the operation began. In Missouri, SWAT teams stormed a major switching hub controlled by cartel supervisors. When suspects attempted to lock down the control tower, a brief but violent gunfight erupted. It lasted less than a minute. When it ended, agents secured detailed route plans showing 2 tons of fentanyl scheduled to depart within hours. In Arizona, federal officers surrounded a repair facility used to modify refrigerated rail cars. Cartel mechanics attempted to escape using a service locomotive, but were blocked on the tracks and forced to surrender. Inside the facility, agents found multiple modified cars with hidden compartments large enough to store drugs, weapons, or human organs. In Illinois, a cartel-controlled warehouse was breached before dawn. Inside, workers were packing methamphetamine into crates disguised as food shipments destined for schools and retirement communities. Several suspects attempted to flee through a rear exit but were taken into custody. In Texas, the largest objective of the operation was secured without a single shot fired. A 2-mile-long freight train waiting for clearance was seized car by car. Inside, agents uncovered rifles wrapped in plastic, sacks of narcotics, and cold storage units mislabeled as agricultural equipment. By 5:57 a.m., the operation was complete. 127 suspects were in custody. 43 rail cars had been seized. 7 rail facilities were placed under federal control. But the raid itself was only the beginning. Inside the Arizona repair facility, Department of Transportation engineers examined the seized railcars. Beneath standard flooring, they found hidden coolant systems and reinforced steel compartments. Tools recovered from the site showed industrial-level precision: laser cutters, custom clamps, welds designed to leave no external trace. In Missouri, investigators uncovered specialized routing software hidden on computers disguised as maintenance terminals. The system controlled secret train diversions, triggered fake mechanical alerts, and allowed cartel shipments to bypass federal inspection points entirely. In Illinois, agents discovered empty cold boxes labeled with QR codes linked to fake medical centers. These containers were part of a human organ trafficking pipeline designed to erase any trace of origin or destination. This was not smuggling, it was engineering. Undercover agents were later placed inside rail yards posing as technicians. One was offered high pay to help install a new hidden compartment inside a refrigerated car. The design allowed cargo to be swapped depending on demand. Narcotics one week, human organs the next. Wiretaps revealed coded language used by cartel supervisors. Cold Steel North referred to fentanyl shipments. Clear Track 9 signaled an organ run. Ordinary rail terminology had been weaponized. Financial investigators uncovered hundreds of shell companies, laundering money through fake safety bonuses and hazard stipends. Even the organ shipments were disguised as medical waste disposal contracts. When cartel enforcers attempted to destroy servers in Colorado, federal agents engaged in a brief firefight to secure the evidence. The message was clear. The cartel knew the investigation was closing in. When the findings reached Washington, the response was immediate. Federal authorities announced that the railroad had been captured and weaponized by cartel forces. Rail yards were placed under armed security. Trains were immobilized nationwide. For 48 hours, nearly one-third of America's freight network was frozen, sending shockwaves through supply chains. Washington, D.C. is on high alert tonight after a targeted attack near the White House was officially declared an act of terrorism. A 20-year-old Army specialist has been killed, and a 24-year-old Air Force staff sergeant is fighting for his life. The ambush took place Wednesday afternoon at the Farragut Square metro station, where authorities say the suspect, an Afghan national, opened fire using a .357 revolver. Within hours, the FBI launched multi-state raids across Washington and San Diego, seizing electronic devices and interviewing the suspect's relatives as investigators probe his possible international links. The incident occurred on Wednesday, November 26th. The area around Farragut West Metro Station is a bustling center for commuters, only blocks away from the White House, federal offices, and major government buildings. On that day, life in the city seemed ordinary. Office workers headed home, tourists passed by, and commuters navigated through the station. Two unarmed National Guard members, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, were on routine security patrol. Without warning, a lone individual appeared from behind a structural column. In his hand, he carried a .357 revolver. In a matter of seconds, the attack unfolded. Multiple shots were fired at Specialist Beckstrom, striking her repeatedly. Staff Sergeant Wolf was also hit as he attempted to protect her. Passengers panicked, diving behind escalators, pillars, and ticket booths. Metro staff activated emergency lockdown procedures. Nearby police and Secret Service personnel immediately engaged the suspect, who was wounded and taken into custody, ending the attack. Specialist Beckstrom succumbed to her injuries the following day. Her death at only 20 years old devastated her family, colleagues, and the military community. Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition in the hospital. Both soldiers had been performing routine security duties in public spaces, highlighting the risks National Guard personnel face, even in areas considered highly secure. The attack sent shockwaves through the city, the National Guard, and the nation. The suspect was identified as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, 29, an Afghan national who was resettled in the United States following the 2021 U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Lakhanwal had served in Afghan security units allied with U.S. forces during the conflict in Afghanistan. Authorities are examining his past military service, travel history, digital communications, and potential affiliations with extremist groups. Prosecutors have prepared charges including first-degree murder, attempted murder, and terrorism-related offenses. Investigators are determining whether he acted alone or had accomplices. In response to the attack, the FBI executed search warrants in multiple locations, including Washington State and San Diego. They seized electronic devices, documents, and other evidence. Relatives and associates of the suspect are being interviewed as part of a broader investigation that involves multiple federal agencies, including the Counterterrorism Division and intelligence units. Security measures in Washington, D.C. were immediately increased, with additional National Guard troops deployed across the city to bolster patrols and maintain order. Over 500 National Guard members were brought in to assist local police. Asylum and visa processing for Afghan nationals were temporarily suspended while federal authorities conducted an emergency review of screening procedures. Joint patrols by the police and National Guard were established near government buildings, high-traffic transit areas, and federal installations. Federal agencies also increased monitoring of online platforms to detect any related threats. Lawmakers have demanded a review of the refugee vetting process, citing the need to prevent future attacks. The attack has raised questions about national security, immigration policies, and monitoring of individuals resettled in the United States. Public confidence in safety measures has been shaken. Military families and colleagues have called for improved protection for unarmed personnel performing public-facing duties in urban areas. Beyond the statistics and official reports lies the human tragedy. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom was described as disciplined, determined, and committed to serving her country. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, critically injured, has supporters holding vigil and hoping for his recovery. Candlelight memorials and tributes have been held at the site of the attack and in nearby communities, honoring the bravery and sacrifice of the soldiers. The attack demonstrates that even highly secure areas can be vulnerable. Investigators continue to gather evidence, seeking to understand the motive, planning, and method behind the attack, as well as any potential networks or connections. Meanwhile, the nation mourns and demands accountability. Federal authorities confirm that investigations are ongoing. Digital evidence, witness statements, and forensic analysis are being examined carefully. Public safety remains a top priority, and all possible measures are being taken to prevent further threats. For the families of Specialist Beckstrom and Staff Sergeant Wolf, the coming days will be filled with uncertainty and grief. Yet the resolve of the National Guard, law enforcement, and the community remains strong. Their courage in the face of danger highlights the risks they accept daily to protect the public. The targeted attack has left a lasting impact on Washington, D.C. and the nation as a whole. It underscores the importance of vigilance, preparedness, and rapid response. The FBI and other agencies are committed to uncovering every detail, ensuring accountability, and reinforcing the security of the Capitol. In Washington, officials are examining how a resettled individual could carry out such an attack. Questions about the vetting process and long-term monitoring of foreign nationals are being scrutinized. Lawmakers and security experts are calling for immediate policy reviews to prevent similar incidents in the future. National Guard personnel and local law enforcement have increased presence in the city. Security perimeters have been strengthened around government buildings, key transit hubs, and public gathering locations. Additional surveillance, intelligence gathering, and rapid response measures have been implemented. The human cost of the attack is deeply felt across Washington, D.C., the military community, and the nation. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom's family, colleagues, and friends are in profound mourning, grappling with the sudden loss of a young life full of promise and dedication. Messages of support have poured in from across the country, highlighting the impact of her death on fellow service members and civilians alike. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf's loved ones remain vigilant, standing beside him in the hospital, hoping and praying for his recovery. Friends, fellow soldiers, and medical staff have described the ongoing battle he faces as a testament to his resilience and courage in the face of grave injury. Fellow service members have come together to honor both Beckstrom and Wolf, holding solemn ceremonies and informal gatherings to pay tribute to their bravery. Military units stationed in and around Washington have lowered flags to half-mast, and colleagues have shared stories of Beckstrom's and Wolf's dedication, their professionalism, and their unwavering commitment to duty. Communities have organized candlelight vigils at Farragut Square and in nearby neighborhoods, offering quiet spaces for reflection and remembrance. Flowers, wreaths, and letters have been left at memorial sites, forming a living tribute to those who risked their lives to protect others. This attack has also brought renewed attention to broader questions of national security, including the effectiveness of asylum programs, the vetting of refugees, and monitoring of individuals admitted under humanitarian and resettlement programs. Federal authorities are conducting detailed reviews of the processes by which Rahmanullah Lakhanwal entered the United States, seeking to identify any gaps in security and oversight. Every aspect of his background, including prior service in Afghanistan, digital footprints, travel history, financial records, and personal connections, is being meticulously analyzed to ensure that similar attacks can be prevented in the future. Investigators are working around the clock, coordinating across multiple federal, state, and local agencies to uncover motive, connections, and any potential accomplices. Intelligence analysts are examining online activity, encrypted communications, and financial transactions, while law enforcement officers conduct interviews and forensic investigations. The investigation is ongoing, with federal agencies emphasizing that the safety of the public, the security of the Capitol, and the protection of service members remain the highest priorities. The attack starkly highlights the vulnerability of even highly secured areas in major cities and the constant need for vigilance. Military families, lawmakers, and federal officials have called for a comprehensive review of current security protocols, policies, and procedures. Coordination between agencies has intensified to ensure rapid responses to threats and to minimize risk to both personnel and civilians. Training exercises and security assessments are being revisited, and the lessons learned from this attack are expected to influence future operational standards. The personal sacrifices of Specialist Beckstrom and Staff Sergeant Wolf underscore the human dimension of targeted violence. Their courage reflects the dedication of all members of the National Guard and military service, who routinely place themselves in harm's way to protect others. The stories of their service and sacrifice inspire communities, reinforce the need for vigilance, and highlight the enduring importance of security, discipline, and accountability in protecting the nation. As Washington, D.C. continues to process the shock and grief from this incident, the investigation moves forward with urgency. Authorities remain committed to uncovering every detail, ensuring accountability, and preventing future attacks. The tragedy serves as a solemn reminder of the risks faced by those who serve in public and military roles, as well as the importance of robust vetting and security measures across all levels of government. The nation mourns the loss of Specialist Beckstrom, honors her life, and stands in support of Staff Sergeant Wolf as he fights for recovery. The attack has left a lasting impact not only on the families directly affected, but also on the broader military, law enforcement, and civilian communities. Justice, security, and accountability are now the central focus, and federal agencies, local authorities, and the public continue to grapple with the implications of the attack. In the heart of the nation's capital, the incident serves as a powerful reminder of the dedication, bravery, and selflessness of the National Guard. Those who serve daily, often without recognition, are constantly putting their lives at risk to protect the public and ensure the safety of the community. The attack underscores the vital importance of vigilance, preparedness, and a commitment to justice as authorities continue their investigation. The city mourns, the nation reflects, and the commitment to safeguard those who serve remains unwavering. Even in the face of tragedy, the resilience of the military and civilian communities shines through. Candlelight vigils, memorial services, and public tributes continue to honor the lives affected. Specialists